want to just, we've spoken about tongue function, and we've spoken about newborn feeding reflexes. So what I'd like to touch on in this video is the importance of how a baby is held at the breast. And so, like I said in the previous video on reflexes, and I've got a doll here to hopefully demonstrate the position of optimal position of a newborn when feeding, is that when a baby is in that tummy to mummy position, so like that, they all those other feeding reflexes are stimulated and triggered. So what has been discovered is that actually when a mother leans back slightly, then her body supports the weight of the baby. She can get nice and comfortable, even if you just slide your bottom to the front of your chair, and then you're not even having to hold the baby, and it's being supported. Obviously, I think that most new parents will want to hold their babies, but just to kind of reassure you that that's how far back you can lean. Often a lot of people worry about, oh, well, is my baby going to be able to breathe if it's like that? So obviously you want to, be aware and make sure that your baby is comfortable. But if you think about it, if somebody came and put a pillow over your face, you're not going to just quietly pass out. You will instinctively push away and push the pillow away and move your head, and a baby will do exactly the same thing. They will move their head, and they actually have very, very strong necks and spines. Excuse me. And the reason for that is because when a baby is attaching onto the breast, what they do is they actually tilt their head right back. And when they tilt their head back, their mouth opens wide, and that supports them. So their chin will come in first towards the breast, and then the top lip will then kind of close over the top of the areola, the darkened area around the nipple. So, which is, again, I hadn't actually mentioned in the earlier video. So a breastfeeding person's areola, the area around the nipple, will become darker, and so it makes it easier for the baby to see where the nipple is and where to move to attach to the breast. Amazing. Anyway, I digress. So your baby has a very strong neck and spine, and that's to support the baby moving their head back, which when they move their head back, their mouth opens wide, the chin comes in first onto the breast, and then the top lip closes over that. So when you are holding your baby, whether you want to hold them in a kind of cradled position, so there's lots of different names, but either like this or like this, or if you want them to be more upright, what's really important is that they have the freedom to tilt their head back. And it's also really important to be aware that across the back of a person's head, there are lots and lots of nerves directly related to the mouth and the tongue. So putting pressure on the back of a baby's head means that it won't be able to tilt back as much, which means it won't be able to open its mouth wide enough. But there is also the risk of, when there is firm pressure on the back of a baby's head, that could cause nerve damage to the baby's mouth, which obviously we absolutely do not want. So if you are going to hold your baby in this kind of traditional position, I find it useful if you just create a V shape with your second and third finger and kind of put it on either side of the baby's ear. So the baby's really just resting their head. You're creating a shelf for the baby to rest on, so they can still tilt their head back as far as they need to get to encourage that wide gape of their mouth. They're still in that tummy to tummy position, so the tummy, all the newborn infant feeding reflexes are being stimulated by that tummy to tummy support. The other thing that's really useful to remember is that their head and their spine are in a straight line rather than their head turning to the side. So if you just think about, if you just put your head in a neutral position and swallow, and then turn your head to the side, either side, it doesn't matter, right or left, and swallow again, and just see how that feels. How does that feel? Most people will find that it's most comfortable to swallow when their head is in a neutral position. So that's what we want for a baby. Head supported, tummy to tummy, head and spine in a straight line. And the last thing is to have their bottom tucked in nice and close. Think about holding bagpipes. And what that does is it just anchors them and means that that their chin is coming into the chest first, and that they've got a little bit of air to breathe. There's a space between their nose and the top of the breast. Whereas if they're round like that, that often means that their nose is a bit squished into the breast tissue. Okay, so those are your 4 things that you want to be remembering when positioning the baby at the breast. The next thing that's really, really important when positioning a baby at the breast is that when they've opened their mouth wide, their tongue has come out and drawn the breast into their mouth, thinking about where the mother's nipple is inside the baby's mouth. So if you run your tongue along the roof of your mouth, just do it with me now. So you can feel that as you run your tongue back, you've got hard palate, hard palate, hard palate, and right at the back of your mouth is your soft palate. Remembering the tongue function and how that tongue does that kind of undulating wave-like motion, a bit like lapping. If the mother's nipple is too far forward in the baby's mouth and that tongue is doing that lapping wave-like motion, what's going to happen is that the nipple is going to rub across the top of the hard palate, and that friction is going to cause pain and discomfort and bleeding nipples and all the awful things that we hear about that we absolutely don't want for anybody, and are easily avoidable if we understand how breastfeeding works. So we talk about breastfeeding, it's not nipple feeding. The baby needs to be able to have a large enough amount of breast tissue in its mouth so that the mother's nipple is on the soft palate at the back of the baby's mouth. So again, I'll link a video to this, a YouTube video to this, which shows you what when the tongue is doing that lapping action, when the breast is inside the baby's mouth, where the nipple is positioned. And so hopefully that will be easier for you to kind of get a better understanding of it. So to recap, we've spoken about supporting your baby's position. If they are in this traditional position, head and spine in a straight line, head supported, tummy to tummy, and bum tucked in nice and close. If they're in an upright position, mum can slide her bottom forward and lean back so that the baby is supported by the mother's body weight, and the baby will have the ability themselves to bob over and move around and use their kneading reflexes and their stepping reflexes to kind of move over and find the nipple themselves and attach onto the breast in that way. We also need to remember to ensure that their baby has ample freedom to tilt their head as far back as they can to encourage that nice wide gape. The chin of the baby will come onto the mother's chest first, and then the top lip will close over the top of the breast, and the mother's nipple needs to be pointing to the back of the baby's mouth so that it's on the soft palate and not on the hard palate when the tongue is doing that lapping action of the baby. So I hope you have found that useful, and I look forward to hearing your questions when we connect soon. I will do another video on maintaining a mother's milk supply, and when things don't go according to plan, how to ensure that a mother's milk supply is protected when babies aren't feeding efficiently, as this is really, really important in supporting the longevity of a breastfeeding relationship.